You know, out of that group photo, I can name a few of them, not all of them. But some of my favorites are the CSLs, our buddy David Hobbs race, for example.
Right.
I remember those cars as a younger guy, in my teens, watching them storming around on the IMSA Campbell GT circuit, and they were just spectacular, belching flames all over the place. And we'll get to see them in action here.
Yeah, those were the cars that brought BMW to prominence in American road racing. Lots and lots of great drivers. We move on to race 3A for 1955 to 62 GT cars. You should see a few that you know well in this race.
Green flag and we're off and racing, including a Ferrari 250 GTO in the front of the field, car number 112. Like $30+ million leading your race.
I was just thinking that, Ralph. I'm sure race fans out there at home took a deep breath and said, an actual 250 GTO is being raced here?
Actually, there's a couple of them in this race. Price is in one as well. You know, that's the great thing about these races here, is that these men are not afraid to bring these things out and exercise them.
And there's a number from Ferrari's 250 line with the legendary V12 engine. GTOs, GTs, the list goes on. And yes, they are incredibly valuable cars. There were, what, 38, 36, something like that, GTOs originally made, but some of them are actually racing here.
And there's a Porsche. You've been dying to see a Porsche, Bob, but we've got one for you.
I don't think I ought to open my mouth about car number 19 of Steve Schmidt in his Porsche Speedster. But there it is.
Thundering out the hill goes this next one.
Don't see many Ferraris in blue and yellow, but there's one. There goes another GTO.
Chris Cox owns that car, comes out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So it's not supposed to be painted like Carolina blue. That actually was the colors the car raced. Part of the history of the car in its European days.
Just looking down the list of cars in this race. Alfa Romeo, Austin Healey. There's a Chevy Corvette or two. Austin Mini Cooper. Got the battle for second. 145 and the 10. Ferrari 250 GT. Not a GTO, but a GT. Number 145, a Morgan baby doll. How many of those have you seen?
One, and that's it, right there.
1959. It's another very cool thing about that. Something you have never seen before.
Let's go to Justin with a little bit more on that.
Well, you say Ferrari GTO, and you realize that more people have ridden a unicorn than actually got to drive one. But a few years back, when it was in England, we had the big revival meeting at Silverstone. Nick Mason, of course, a massive fan of historic racing, great car collector and drummer for the Pink Floyd, and also father-in-law to Marino Franchitti. He let me drive his car, much against his better judgment. Of course, it was only worth about 12 million then, and I took it out around Silverstone. You know those corners, Bob. High speed, direction change, high G. I was mastering these long, beautiful drifts in a car I never thought I would, and then I heard a ting, ting, ping, ping. I'm thinking that's very odd in my repertoire of weird misfunctioning car noises. I'd never heard it before. So I came in, and the mechanic popped his head to the window and said, "Oh, the spokes are coming undone. They're braking on the left rear. So you better stop, otherwise Nick will get a little bit pissy with you." So I realized that there's always something to learn as a driver, and if you hear a ping ping in a $50 million car, it's probably time to head for the pits.
Yeah,
That's right. Ping ping means ching ching.
yeah.
Or ka-ching.
No doubt about it. Remember a couple of years ago, Bob, there's only 30 or so of these in the world. 29 of them were all here in the Monterey Bay Peninsula.
That's right.
Just 2 years ago.
battle now.
Another Porsche. This is Goodman's machine. It's a Porsche 356 running in 16th position. Wegner and a Porsche and a Ferrari 250 long wheelbase giving chase.
Good look at the 23 of Ron Goodman there. He's from Cecil Hills, New South Wales in Australia. Had a wonderful conversation with he and his buddies last year. A small group of Australians who came here for the first time last year with only, they told us, about 200 of their closest friends who came over to cheer them on. I asked them, why would you come all this way and ship your cars and expensive proposition? They said, yes, but it's Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It is the Monterey Reunion. We want to be a part of that. So over they come.
Well, while some drivers dream of competing in things such as a Daytona 500 or Indianapolis 500, for people that are interested in vintage racing, this is their granddaddy event. And this is Ridgely in his 250 GT, number 173, right there.
Battling with Mark Colbert from Delray Beach, Florida, and his 62 Ferrari 250 GT. So Ferrari on Ferrari, but two very different iterations of the 250 lineage.
Ridgely's car is a 1961 250 GT short wheelbase. That's what SWB stands for. It was brand new to Walter Lambert of Switzerland, competed in hill climbs. Lambert eventually lost his life in a road accident. Car eventually was repaired in late '62. Swiss and German and Italian ownership prior to 2003 when Bobby Rahal took ownership of the car. Speaking of people that dream of winning the Indy 500.
And people who are very, very well-known car enthusiasts and collectors. Back to Justin.
Well, that's a nice sight, isn't it, in the world of pit boxes and data collection and all that. Thousands of streams of sometimes interesting, sometimes useful information. We've got a good old-fashioned lap chart there. What car are you with, sir?
The number 138 Lotus Elite.
Oh, that's perfect, and of course he's got a stopwatch there. That's a lost art to modern racing. And I remember a story about Betty Hill, which I'm sure you can tell better, Bob. But couldn't she use up to 4 different stopwatches at one time during a Formula One race?
I was just thinking of that, Justin. Talk about the lost art of operating a stopwatch. Some of the great lap charters and scorers. Judy Stropas comes to mind.
Yep.
Very well-known marketing professional here in the United States. Well, she used to keep lap charts for Roger Penske. And she would use multiple stopwatches, keep track of the entire field. In fact, it was not unheard of for race officials in a big event to go down and check their scoring against Judy's lap charts because she was so metronomically accurate and efficient. It is truly a lost art these days.
There's Colbert's Ferrari still at the front of this battle here, which is right. Timing and scoring.
Up into third place is the number 10.
There it is, yeah, all the way up to third. Yep.
250, of course, in 250 GT or GTO. 250 stands for 250 cubic centimeters, which is the measure of displacement in each of the 12 cylinders in the V12. That's the way Ferraris are designated. When you see a number, it's usually the single cylinder displacement.
It's a 1962 Ferrari 250 GT Lusso, one of 3 Lusso Competizione models built.
I think the Lusso, which stands for luxury in Italian, is my favorite Ferrari model.
Really?
Yep. Someone on the road the other night from Monterey, so 6 of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The guy driving it with his lady alongside was having such a great time. They are so elegant, such beautiful lines.
Well, for those of you that love the roar of an American motor, how about the Corvette?
Yeah, how about that one?
Number 283. That's Ericsson's machine running in 20th.
That's a 57.
field here, the 145.
Open cockpit machine.
That's our second place machine of Abramson. That's your Morgan baby doll.
I must admit, I don't know anything. Obviously a Morgan chassis that someone has taken lots of liberties with and felt that they could legitimately rename. They call it a baby doll, and I would love to know why.
You can see all the steering input he was putting into that thing too. Whoop! Speaking of steering input, you saw the rear end of that Ferrari step out a little bit.
And I would assume the logical value of that car would make any little discrepancy in the way it performs send your heart directly to your throat.
Yeah. It is certainly a beautiful car, Bob. There's no doubt about it.
Even the exhaust smells good. 172 looks like a GTO, but it's not. It's a GT short wheelbase.
Back here, the number 41 machine.
It's an MGA from 1957. The Andretti hairpin just ahead of him is car number 22.
Bowden.
Yeah, 1960 Ferrari short wheelbase engine, not described.
This was at one point in time the show car for Ferrari at the Brussels Auto Show.
Now we have a discrepancy because car 22 is shown on timing and scoring as a Ferrari short wheelbase. It's shown on the entry form. That's it, Ferrari short wheelbase. I'm looking for the engine. No mention. Assuming it's a 250, but may not be.
That's what it. These two have changed positions here too.
Yep,
It's like the
73 is
third
got
race
by
going
10.
around. They're still sliding those things around too, aren't they?
Again, relatively narrow tires on these cars. Tread not much wider than the width of a credit card. At the rear, however.
And that prancing horse leading the way on the nose.
Let's check on what's going on a little bit further back. There's our Corvette once again.
Ericsson showed in 18th place in that Corvette. There's quite a few Corvettes around here of various ages to see this weekend. This is a 1957.
There are 3 total Corvettes in this field for this particular race, 3A. As you can tell, the weather has been astonishing. The forecasts were not optimistic, let's say, earlier in the week. We've had a lot of the marine layer rolling in, creating the traditional Monterey fog. And that's what it was like this morning when you had to be very careful driving down the road just to get into the racetrack. But it has all burned off. We have beautiful blue skies, hillsides full of spectators on their personal rides. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that not far away there are some wildfires that you're probably aware of if you've been following the national headlines. California is in a very dire situation this week, and one, the Browns fire, is barely 10 miles from where we sit right now. Down the various roads of the town, you'll find signs saluting the firefighters for protecting the Monterey Peninsula as best they can from Mother Nature at her most dastardly. And we add our kudos to those fire crews who are out there working 24 hours a day. And they say that Sopranos fire alone will take them to the end of next month to get under control.
Yeah, almost 80,000 acres on fire or burned at this point. They're expecting close to 150,000 acres by the time they get it contained. A lot of those firefighters staying even in the same hotels we're in, and a lot of them were using Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca as a campground for a lot of those firefighters in the early stages as they were battling the blaze.
Our hearts go out to all of those who've been affected by those fires. A lot of homes destroyed.
Huge go in the 491. Porsche runs in 8th place.
56B. I don't know why I chose the number 491. It takes up most of the flanks of that car. There's another Porsche right behind it. 356, I believe.
That car was originally a Southern race car that competed in the HSR series. It was brought out here to California. It spent a lot of time competing here. In fact, in 2013, it won the Rolex Race 3A Award of Excellence. Very well turned out machine.
When you think about it, vintage racing or historics or whatever you'd like to call it really does provide a new lease on life for these cars. We all benefit from being able to see these classic cars in action. It's great the craftsmanship entailed in restoring one of these cars and preparing it to go back on the racetrack, particularly given the changes in tire technology and so forth. Suspensions weren't made to succeed on the kinds of grip levels that modern tire technology will provide. I heard Derek Bell saying earlier, why would I get into a car and go flying down the road with all the power and speed that the machines, even going back decades, can produce contemporary tires? What might happen?
That's more in number 138, the Lotus Elite from 1962, being chased a 1957 Corvette as they battle over 28th position.
And with that thought in mind, it's interesting to note that there are tires, bias ply tires, for example, made to accommodate these cars more in line with their performance envelope on the day. Several makers of tires specifically for vintage racing. Classic GT still had his California current license plate on the back. You drive it home.
Well, we saw that in our earlier Michelin piece, didn't we? The gentleman brought the car all the way from Canada.
That's right. And I spoke with a man at Legends of the Autobahn who drove his 1980 M1, drove it from Texas. Only the slightest road rash on that car. Absolutely beautiful. Not all that many trailer queens out here this weekend on the Monterey Peninsula.
The car 98, 1956 MG. Running in 23rd as we're watching the racing here in Group 3A, 1955 to 1962 GT cars. This automobile brings you the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, presented by Michelin. First day of our weekend coverage from here. First time we've been able to bring it all to you live. We hope you're enjoying it. Continue with us throughout the afternoon today as we go all the way to the final checkered flag here this afternoon. How about that for a number, Bob?
666. It's the number of Henry Ford's first race-winning car, which actually was one of his first cars of any kind. He said that his winnings from that race allowed him to keep his company afloat, which eventually, of course, became Ford Motor Company.
Cox in our stunning race-leading vehicle. Yes, it is a real 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO.
Not a Ferrari, a Ferrari.
Yes. I know you said you like the other model, but I got to tell you, every time I see the GTO, it just...
With Ferraris, you have so many opportunities to pick out your favorite.
Checkered flag waves, and the GTO is won again. Ferrari GTO. Cox takes the win here, completing 10 laps.
And there you see the unofficial results. Abramson and Ridgely, second and third.
The insurance guy just took a big sigh of relief. It's coming back in one piece.
Well, you make a good point. If you're going to get involved in vintage racing, race some of these valuable cars, you better make sure your insurance is up to date.
It's like they used to say about certain exotic cars, if you have to ask what the gas mileage is, you can't afford it. With this one, if you have to ask what the engine rebuild is on the 250 GTO, you can't afford it, right?
Well, you make another good point. That it's free to the public down there, that you can wander right up to those cars as you look at the unofficial results again from our Group 3 race and all those fabulous cars. There's so much going on the peninsula, as we mentioned earlier, Concours d'Elegance and so forth. Some of the events are, frankly, quite pricey, but others are absolutely free. One of those is the Concours in the Avenue at Carmel by the Sea, organized by my friend Doug Friedman out of Atlanta. He gets hundreds of fabulous cars. They line them up on Ocean Drive down there in Carmel, and the public is free to wander up. Same goes for Concorso Italiano, I believe. Special concours for Italian-built cars only, for Legends of the Autobahn, for the German cars. We saw my piece a little bit earlier about that. Just wander onto the golf course and see all these amazing cars.
One of my favorites, Concours de Lemons.
Absolutely. That might need a little explanation.
Yeah, well, it is exactly what it sounds like if you're into things like AMC Pacers and weird things like Subaru Brats. Boy, that's the show for you. And after you've been walking around kicking tires on $30 million Ferraris, taking a look at the fun and the frivolous is pretty good too.
Absolutely. It just underscores the fact that we all love cars. You know, the great ones, maybe the not so great ones, but we just love them all.